This is Independent Sound.
UBC has 11 sister radio stations spread throughout the country to educate, inform, and entertain. Tune in to UBC Radio FM 98, your national radio station, Magic 100, where sports and music is our life. 87.5 Star FM in Luganda, 97.4 UBC West covering Western Uganda, 102 Mega FM in Gulu, 97 FM Butebo Radio in Eastern Uganda, 107.0 Buduli FM, 100.5 Ngea FM in Kasese, 98.0 West Nile FM in Arua, Total Ray Radio FM 90 in Karamoja, and 93.0 Voice of Mundbujo. Now you're covered in your local language. UBC Radios, inspiring Uganda.
Uganda's 55th Uhuru will be celebrated in Bushenyi district under the theme, Uganda's freedom must be anchored in hard work, resilience and commitment. President Yoweri Museveni will be the main celebrant, and those not in Bushenyi will see and hear the events live on our big radio and TV network.
The quest, giver of life, Alpha without Omega. I am Africa.
Hail to Uganda, the Pearl of Africa, a land with the world's most beautiful, captivating features. Hills, mountains and valleys, the enigmatic animal species in the wild. A land where Africa is condensed into one small country with authentic endowment of nature and perfect safari. Uganda, the Pearl of Africa, is without the crowds with abundant primates, wildlife and stunning scenery. Uganda, the Pearl of Africa, takes you beyond the guidebooks, the known features, and gives you the insights unmatched. Keep it UBC TV, where we inspire Uganda with authentic beauty and nature of our motherland. Uganda, the Pearl of Africa. Discover the fountain.
Well, good morning once again and welcome to GMU Agenda here on UBC TV. And we are going to be looking at oil in Karamoja. Well, we have oil in Hoima and now we have oil in Karamoja. And with me on this topic is, Isaac Kabongo. He's with me and is the Executive Director, Ecological Christian Organization. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now to start with ecological, then Christian organization. We see the environment, the ecosystem, then Christian. In these things of environment, why is Christianity?
Yeah, I think it's very interesting that we are here to talk about oil in Karamoja. But just to remind you that in the book of Genesis, we see that God created everything with love and care. And it's because of that that we have been talking about the Garden of Eden. And in the Garden of Eden, there were very beautiful things there. And Uganda, being really widely known as the Pearl of Africa, I equate that to the Garden of Eden. And therefore, we need to work hard to maintain Uganda to be the Pearl of Africa, but equating it in the Bible to be the Garden of Eden.
The Garden of Eden, because God gave us stewardship over all that he has created.
That's very
true. I was looking at ecology, then Christian, like Christianity and environment. How
yes, so that's what it's the responsibility of everybody, both Christians and non-Christians, to take care of our environment and to take care of this Pearl of Africa that God gave us.
Well, back to Karamoja as a region. Oil in Karamoja, first, is it a fact?
I think if you look at the topography and the geography, Karamoja, it is in the northeastern region of Uganda. And when you look at the you cross to the other part of the country, I mean of the border, that's in Kenya, it is near Turkana. So when you look at that ecosystem, it's the same ecosystem. And in Turkana, they discovered the oil in Turkana, in Kenya. The oil in Kenya comes from, or is within the Turkana sub-region. But that sub-region has very similar characteristics or features with the Karamoja sub-region. But that notwithstanding, we have seen that Karamoja has the Kadam-Moroto Basin, which has potential or high prospects for oil. It is important to highlight that at this level, when you see prospects, it means that you are seeing elements of the potential issues that you may see in realizing the oil in the region. So it is important that at this level we go into doing the exploration to ascertain the potential, the actual amount of oil that is in the region, to know whether it's viable in terms of commercial exploitation or not.
Well, you're based in Karamoja, you do a lot of work in Karamoja here, your organization. But when we know that there is oil in Karamoja, whether before even we are sure if it is viable for economic purposes or it is just there. But what does this mean to the people of Karamoja? Is there excitement? Are they resistant? Because maybe knowing what has happened in Hoima, somehow, what are the facts on ground after hearing this news?
I think in any part of the world, when you hear about the news about oil, it's always very exciting because, you know, oil is equated to the black gold, you know, and it means that wherever there is oil, we expect transformation, and you expect development to happen. And I think the celebration might be there, but I think we need to look at it more consciously in terms of asking ourselves, what should we be able to do in order to exploit the resources in a way that benefits the local people, the country, and the region at large. So it is important that we work together with the local communities, together with the government, civil society, the private sector, to exploit and try to find ways of making sure that oil is not a curse, but rather a blessing to our country, so that we move to the middle income status.
We move to the middle income status. You seem so reserved with this exploration to go forward, and you're so concerned more of the environment and the people. Why hesitant at this?
We have seen in other places where oil exploitation has taken place. For example, when you look at the Niger Delta in Nigeria, where the oil spills have really caused a lot of environmental catastrophes there. We have also seen in the oil spills happening in the Gulf of Mexico, in the US. We have seen in Canada oil spills really killing a lot of marine life in so many ecosystems. So what we are saying is that it is true. We support and we are with government in terms of making sure that we really exploit this natural resource, but we need to do it in such a way that promotes sustainable development. So we need to strike a balance. How do we strike a balance in a way that our dear environment, because as I said, Uganda was named to be the Pearl of Africa. It was not because of another thing. It was because of the natural beauty that we have. So how do we maintain that natural beauty together with our vision of moving to a middle-income country? So we need to strike that balance. And that's exactly what we are saying. We are not saying that the projects, the undertakings on oil exploration should not go ahead. We should go ahead with them. But we need to think about how do we make sure that our environmental footprint is reduced. But also, we also need to look at the benefit sharing. How should the indigenous communities, the local communities, be able to benefit from this whole process? The good thing is that government has already come up with the relevant policies, especially, for example, the one focusing on local content, where we as citizens, we have been given the opportunity to participate in the economic opportunities that exist around oil exploration and the production. And I think this is where many Ugandans are not really seeing. We need to look at what are those opportunities and how do we exploit them, by the way.
But are we prepared, us as Ugandans, because it's different for you to have a policy and to also have the manpower and the resource?
I think Ugandans are very hardworking people. They are prepared anytime. But the most critical thing is to try and share with them what are those critical opportunities that exist. But in terms of preparedness, people are prepared to take advantage or to take on the opportunities that exist. Of course, the biggest challenge we have to reach out to as many people as possible to tell them of what are those opportunities. For example, when you talk about logistics, there's a lot of opportunities in logistics. There's also a lot of opportunities in terms of trying to engage the oil companies and engage them in such a way that they take on the corporate social responsibility, that's now the local leaders can engage and be able to, come up with projects that can enhance the regional development and at the same time come up with projects that can support local communities, like building of the schools, building of hospitals, building of infrastructure. For example, when you look at the Karamoja sub-region, it has been affected, or it has not been having very adequate road infrastructure because of a number of reasons. In the recent years, we have seen government investing a lot of money in trying to open up the road infrastructure in Karamoja. And those who have had the opportunity to go to Karamoja, the road between Moroto and Nakapiripiriti, which stretches over around 80 kilometers, was tarmacked. And we have seen a lot of roads being opened up for tarmacking. And I think the Soroti-Moroto road is also being, they've started on the tarmacking of that road. And most of the roads actually are going to be worked on. But we feel that this is going to bring economic development in the region. And as civil society, what we want is that we want to urge government to keep on with this spirit of transparency and accountability and being inclusive, because we don't want to leave any person or any institution behind.
Any person, well, have you yet ascertained as civil society organizations, do you have the manpower to know if, or technical know-how of, if this oil in Karamoja is viable for economic purposes? Because it's different having oil wells, there are wells, because even in Hoima there are oil wells, but where the experts come and say, these ones, yes, the oil is there, but it's not economically viable. You can't invest, it might be not much enough, or have you ascertained this? When
you look at the oil business, the first thing is to see the signs or the potential signals that you have oil in that sub-region or in that area. And normally it's exhibited through what we call oil spills. And it is those oil spills that attracts people to know, you know, this area has potential for oil. Now, the next stage, at that level, there's a lot of uncertainty. Nobody knows how much oil is there. So
now, like when you look at Karamoja there,
yes,
kind of dry. You see the manyatas, you see the lives of the people there, and then a person says, yes, you have oil in such an area. The first question is, if I put my money there, I know these international companies, will I get value for money, or will the oil sustain me there? All it is discover and I go.
Yeah,
the spills so far, the good news is.
So far, we are seeing there's high prospects and the potential for the region to have commercial oil quantities, but this should be confirmed with the exploration exercise. So now that's the phase where we are going into. Government is trying to work with civil society to sensitize the people that when they see, for example, the oil ridges moving around and the oil companies that would be interested in going there, they should let them do their work freely so that we are able to ascertain the truth of the matter, whether we have viable quantities or not. But now the next stage is the one which is more critical of exploration. And that's after exploration, that's where we shall be able to determine whether we have commercial quantities or not.
Well, I want to look at Karamoja as a region. It is a dry area, not like Masindi, and people are pastoralists there. Agriculture is just popping up, that is cultivation of land. What are the environmental dangers of oil exploration in such an arid, such a dry area like Karamoja?
It is true that Karamoja is arid, but I would say that Karamoja is not arid as some people think. Karamoja is also endowed with what we call the green belts. When you look at Kidepo National Park, where Kidepo is, it is evergreen throughout the year. And it has wildlife, it has, you know, a number of really very interesting geographical features. But again, when you come downwards, that's where Nakapiripriti is, and Napak. That's a very good green area or green belt. So when you talk about arid area, it's in the middle where we have like the Moroto district, where we have also some areas of Kotido. But that notwithstanding, Karamoja has some same arid areas, and also it has some green areas with the green belts. So we are feeling that as we take on the oil exploration, we need to be conscious of the two ecosystems that exist in that region. Of course, we have mentioned that Karamoja is endowed with very good wildlife. You know, it has the lions, it has the giraffes. When you look at the buffaloes in Kidepo National Park, Kidepo National Park was elected or was chosen to be among the best national parks in Africa, second to Kruger National Park in South Africa. So it has a lot of biodiversity, and therefore we feel that we need to protect those national reserves and the protected areas as we go into oil exploration. But also we need to strike the balance in such a way that we allow the oil exploration to continue, but not forgetting this beauty, the natural resources that we have there.
We are looking at oil in Karamoja. It is GMU agenda here on UBC TV. And we want to look at the land system in Karamoja. Hoima, they have been having a different system. And usually government programs, compensation is easy. More so here where people have land titles, then the tenants. But when it comes to Karamoja, their land belonging to communities. Land, you won't come with a title and say, I'm going to compensate this person. So what are the basic ways you think government can successfully handle the land issue now that there is also oil in Karamoja?
I think the land question is a very critical issue in the region. First of all, land is communally owned in Karamoja, and that means that the land certification kind of arrangement does not really exist so much there. Majority of the people don't have the land titles. However, there are those traditional mechanisms where clans and the families, they know where their land, the demarcation of their land, and they know who is the should be the beneficiary of whatever land that exists in the region. What government did when it came up with the land policy and the land act, it approved and we accepted as Ugandans, taking on and recognizing that the communal land tenure system is also one of the land tenure systems that are acceptable legally. What's now lacking is that we need to reach out to people to be able to process the communal certificate land ownership, and therefore we need to mobilize them so that they are able to get these certificates. However, in the absence of that, still communities can come together and be able to work with the relevant ministries and local governments so that they secure their land, and especially getting the ownership certificates for them.
Are you seeing this a smooth ride for government in Karamoja?
I think it should be smooth. One, because the biggest threat that the region had was the issue of insecurity, and the government was able, government worked hard to secure that part of our country. Right now, you can go to Karamoja anytime, and I normally tell people that now Karamoja is more secure than any other part of the country.
Why?
It's because you hardly hear of the castling, you hardly hear of any killings, you hardly hear of any attacks of whatever. And for us who work in that region, we can move anytime we want. And therefore, we would say that the region was really has been really secured in terms of security and stability. So what is critical right now is just to bring on board the local communities to understand why it is important for government to undertake these investments in the region. And the government is going to do it for mainly, I would say, one important reason: to transform our country. And when this country is transformed, it means that everybody should be able to benefit and enjoy the benefit that comes with prosperity, with the transformation. However, we should not really also think that we will not maybe face a number of challenges. Some challenges might be there, but that does not stop us from thinking about the bigger vision for the country. So
as a civil society, the news of oil, we saw oil in Hoima, now we have oil in Karamoja. Do we still have hopes of oil anywhere else? Has there been a mapping, and now we know that here and there are oil wells, successful, prosperous oil wells, or we are still waiting?
Uganda has other potential areas, as I said, prospecting, or when you see a region with the potential signs of having oil, we have quite a number of them. For example, we have the Lake Choga region, sub-region, around Lake Choga. That's where Kamuli, the part of Soroti, Apache, those districts surrounding them, Lake Choga. We have signs of oil in that region, or in that basin. We also have potential oil prospects which will have to be ascertained in the Lake Victoria Basin. But it is critical that right now we don't overstretch ourselves with looking far beyond what's not within our means. We need to look at those regions that are proven to have higher prospects, meaning that we have seen a number of more signs than others, and that's why Karamoja comes first than the Choga Basin.
Well, it's been a pleasure having you part of GMU Agenda. That is, we've been discussing oil in Karamoja. Good news there, but we wait to see is it economically viable. And of course, the people, how receptive are they? Because the oil discoveries help for national development, and the area in particular gets a lot of benefits as the ones having these wells. From my producer, my directors, my camera persons, and the entire technical crew, for God and my country, God bless you. Up next is Business Today.
to get your son? Let's go. It's hard for a good man to be a king. Oh, come on.
This
is independent sound.
UBC has 11 sister radio stations spread throughout the country to educate, inform, and entertain. Tune in to UBC Radio FM 98, your national radio station, Magic 100, where sports and music is our life. 87.5 Star FM in Uganda, 97.4 UBC West covering Western Uganda, 102 Mega FM in Gulu, 97 FM Butebo Radio in Eastern Uganda, 107.0 Bududi FM, 100.5 Ngea FM in Kasese, 98.0 West Nile FM in Arua, Total Ray Radio FM 90 in Karamoja, and 93.0 Voice of Mundbujo. Now you're covered in your local language. UBC Radios, inspiring Uganda. Effective teaching techniques enable learners to develop the passion for learning. Teaching with charisma, interaction, and demonstration transform the students into excellent performers in knowledge and skills. Don't miss Time to Learn every Saturday on UBC TV, inspiring Uganda. UBC as a home of entertainment. Lunchtime grows entertainment to inspire Uganda. Every time you come around my house.
New leader of the South. The Bloc government murdered him.
You ready to get your son? Let's go. It's hard for a good man to be a king. Oh, come on. This is independent sound.
UBC has 11 sister radio stations spread throughout the country to educate, inform, and entertain. Tune in to UBC Radio FM 98, your national radio station, Magic 100, where sports and music is our life. 87.5 Star FM in Uganda, 97.4 UBC West covering Western Uganda, 102 Mega FM in Gulu, 97 FM Butebo Radio in Eastern Uganda, 107.0 Bududi FM, 100.5 Ngea FM in Kasese, 98.0 West Nile FM in Arua, Total Ray Radio FM 90 in Karamoja, and 93.0 Voice of Mundbujo. Now you're covered in your local language. UBC Radios, inspiring Uganda.
I am confident, charismatic, and spontaneous with the aura that is not about to burn out yet. In fact, I'm so excited. I mean, come on guys, look at my face. In fact, I'm about to break out into a song, but I'll save you guys the horror because my voice... Hello guys, my name is Drago. Join me and Zuleika as we unveil for you Uganda's A-listers in a way that you've never seen before. Every Thursday, 9:30 p.m. This is Chilling.
Your fashion, style, design, trends in appearance to the society. Cut Catch up with your latest fashion tips, personalities, and more in the Fashion Climax show. The Fashion Climax, here for style. Have you completed your Senior 4 or your Senior 6 and you'd want to study for 1